Hello, hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going.
I can imagine.
Hello.
Fair enough.
Brad, I'm gonna make you co-host for a second so you can let people in.
Okay.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good afternoon, Michael.
Hi. Who is that, Brandon?
Yeah,
Hi, where are you today?
I'm in the office.
Okay.
I fly out tomorrow morning.
Where are you going? To
Kansas.
to see Brand.
Yeah, we're doing his grand opening this weekend.
Okay. We've got well, Emily's joined us. Aaron is there, Justin, hi. And of course Costa is on. Someone new that you may not have met yet is Brandon Wilson. He is going to be helping us with growing the Costa brand, and he's the development director with FranDevCo, and he's based out of Huntsville, Alabama.
Yep. Glad to be here. Glad to meet everyone. Put faces to names.
Hey, Brandon, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi,
Yeah,
David.
feel
you got
like-
a good name, so
Yeah, well, I figured probably wouldn't get any objections on the name from you. So right back at you there.
thanks, buddy.
Yep, he's held in high regard. Brandon Cornelius, the fix-it man.
A
Are we
natural.
waiting on anybody else? I think everybody's here that's supposed to be here. Cody's gonna join late. He's got a call.
I'll just quickly mention, fellas, and I hate to do this, but I'm only able to stay on for the next 30 minutes. I have a hard stop at 3 o'clock.
All right, with that in mind, how about, so obviously, this goes without saying that we suggest that you guys have your own internal meeting on our FDD after you've gone through it yourselves as well, but Justin's gonna run through some of the high ticket stuff that Michael had put in this email, and then we'll probably go straight to the slide deck and how we're going to start marketing this thing. So I'll hand things off to Justin.
Great, thank you.
I don't have your email in front of me, Michael, so.
Do you guys not see my screen?
I can see it, Costa.
I see it, Costa. Okay, so let's start with marketing royalty. So what we refer to as marketing royalty is actually the brand fund in the franchise agreement and the FDD. We have always had this in.
Just send me pictures of it. I'm gonna meet it right now.
We decided to initially not.
No, just send it to me first. Send it to me first and we'll do it. Thanks.
But recently, we decided post-acquisition that we would initiate a brand fund, and in an effort to kind of gradually ease franchisees into the brand fund. It's always been 2%, and we have the right to charge 2%, but we'll start with 1% and then gradually go up to 2%, I believe is the plan. So, that's for people coming in the future. The brand fund will be charged, and that's pretty straightforward. Any questions about the brand fund? Okay, tech fees. Again, this is another one of those fees that has always been in the FDD. We are going to charge a technology fee for proprietary software that's currently under development. And that fee is going to be $200. And of course, the utility of it is that it's going to pay for software that's going to combine essentially the point of sale with the vehicle information. So it will all be sort of in one system that we own. We've been working on it for some time and we've had to change vendors, but that fee is not being assessed today, but it will be assessed. And so again, for candidates that are looking into this franchise, they should know that they will be responsible for paying that tech fee once that goes live. Any questions about the tech fees?
No questions. However, I noticed under the tech fee, I'm not seeing language that allows you to increase that fee over time. Is that something I would recommend that, of course, to be a pass-through fee, as technology can change quite significantly over time.
What's the
I'm
amount it
trying to look
allows
10
us?
years to the future.
What's the amount it allows us at the moment?
It just says currently 200. It does say then current, but based on the FTC's there's a whole lot of talk about this. I would recommend being a bit more specific and giving you more options to raise that fee and putting it in with specific language and any fee that you might want to raise in the future.
We actually had that language in here. We had it as then current fee, currently 200. However, we anticipate it will increase to at least 200 to 300 per month. But on Brad Smith's review, that the revision was made to take that language out. So it's left at the current level of the current language, then current fee, currently $200. So we think that that's sufficient to allow us to increase it in the future, but we can flag that for Brad and see if they want to make any more changes to it.
Yeah, I'd be happy, and I know Brad pretty well at this point. We've developed quite some rapport. I'd be happy to talk to him about that too. And not to I don't want to segue too far, but I just attended the legal symposium last week. This was a hot topic in creating some areas for you to increase fees and think about the future, because it's really, you know, you got to think 10 years down the line, like what could actually come into play, and you want to be able to cover that.
Sure.
So
And
I
would get pretty specific.
I was planning on notarizing the documents today, so this is, I think I should probably call Michael right now. Because if that would be a change, Justin, like, we'd have to do it right now.
Yeah,
It would be
yeah,
as
I
simple
agree.
as doing it as then current fee. We have the ability to raise this fee with the 30-day notice, you know, something along those lines.
Yeah, Costa, maybe we want to wait until the end of this call to see if there are any other things, but let's.
Sure. Yeah, okay.
That's a good point. Technically, we really should have had this call, I guess, before finalizing, but the FDD has been finalized and Costa's notarizing it today. But before he does, if we want to make any last minute changes, we probably can take care of that today. We can get an agreement from everyone, but so that's one thing. Thank you, Emily, for bringing that to our attention, and we'll sort of reconvene at the end of the call and see if we want to make any additional changes. Michael, did you have a question on this point?
I do. Justin, does this include the payroll system as well, Gusto?
No, it doesn't. So this fee is exclusively for the software that's being developed brand new. We haven't had it to this point. It would essentially, if you think of it as PM attendant, which some of our franchisees started with. I don't know if we have anyone currently using it, but it's been optional. But PM attendant costs has a monthly charge, so this would essentially replace that charge and that functionality. Gusto would be on top of that.
What are we going to call this software? Does it have a name yet?
I defer to Costa and Brandon on that. I don't know that I don't know the name.
So I believe we're gonna rebrand it. Currently, it's called Car Wrench. It's going to be a software that we create, again, similar to PM Attendant, where you put in the license plate or put in the VIN number of the vehicle. It pops up the filter that we use. It pops up the oil capacity and oil type that links to Square, so it will be able to make a work order inside of Square. There's not many in this space that do that type of that's integrated into Square. So we're going to be a little bit ahead of the curve on that in that space. But currently it's called Car Wrench.
Car wrench. Okay. Justin, thank you, Brandon, tying into Gusto. And I apologize, I'll pull it up just now. The version I have, items 6 and 7, but the Gusto, is that going to be an option for candidates to use the payroll system? And if they buy into it, how much is that going to be?
So Gusto, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brandon.
I haven't talked to you, Justin. We're still mandating that, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So Gusto is still a mandate, and it's around $50 a month for payroll. I believe it's $40 and then $3 per employee. And most shops will have 3 employees, so we're looking at $49, $50 for that service.
I'm not seeing that anywhere in item 6, and if that's a recurring fee, that should definitely be here, whether it's to you guys or to a vendor.
Emily, I think you were just texted.
I'm sorry?
I think you were just put on a text chain with Brad.
Oh, imagine that. All right,
I'm texting Michael simultaneously.
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
there it is. I see it. Last thing I will say, which I can just comment to this. Guys, if we're gonna do this, I know this is last minute, but if I'm gonna really be upfront too, item 6, I would highly recommend reorganizing it. And you don't have to change anything, but just reorganize it. It's for the flow of sales. I say this to everybody, ongoing fees should always be the first that they see. The next are term fees, so renewals, transfers, anything regarding a term, because it could always apply to somebody. But the last fees, because many are not going to apply, whether there be compliance related or just a non-recurring fee because it's a one-off, those should really be at the bottom. And I see them kind of mixed in. That seems kind of a silly thing to ask, but genuinely for the flow of sales, it's really important.
I think we are the wrong crowd to be opining that too, because
I will talk to Brad.
Yep.
I think we just want to talk to you guys about the changes, and
Got
then
it.
if you could sneak those things into this conversation, then with Brad, then we'll either make the changes or we won't. But let's keep this thing rolling. That's great advice, and I appreciate it, Emily.
You bet.
We haven't come to a conclusion on the price, by the way. I know we said $200, but Abdi and I have talked about maybe doing $129 a month or even $99.99 to pass that value on to the franchisees. But the main requirements remain software wise is Gusto, this software that we're building, and QuickBooks.
I have a question. For Gusto and Time Station and QuickBooks, would that not fall under the computer hardware and software category?
Yeah, that's really where it was intended to be, but if it's recurring, and this is, it doesn't have to be, I guess, but if it's recurring, it could easily also be listed in the place that Emily recommended as well. So it's not that it's not there or disclosed. I think Emily's recommending that it be put in the same place as like a tech fee, for example, to make it clear that it's in addition to that fee.
Well,
separate.
So one additional thing I will say about Gusto is that the price of that software is determined on employees and how many states they are business owners in. So if they do payroll in North Carolina and South Carolina, they are charged an additional fee for having multiple states. So saying that it's just $50 is not really going to cut it. It can be up to $150 depending on their business.
And $6 per employee or $8 per employee or whatever
Or $9.
level plan they sign up for.
Correct. So I just wanted that to be aware.
Yeah, and maybe that's why we didn't put it in item 6, when we initially started, our first FDD. It's always been a requirement. Gusto is nothing new. It's one of the few requirements that our system really has for franchisees. And the tech fee has also been there. It's just that we've not had a technology solution until this point when we're getting very close to having one. So point noted, and Emily, maybe if you can raise that with regard to Gusto with Brad Smith as well, we can let him chime in on whether he thinks we need to add it to item 6.
Yeah, and now that you've actually explained it a little further and I found it in item 8, it's not necessary, but again, for the purposes of if it is a requirement, I would just put it in item 6. It's more transparency, the better.
Costa, tying into this, is there, I know we want to get this out today, and Michael had shared he wanted to keep his word, but do you have to notarize it today? I mean, if it makes sense for Brad to change these things, and it takes the rest of the day and we get it, to where we want it to go, are you okay to notarize tomorrow?
I'm gonna, after we have this conversation in this text chain, I'm sure we'll come with a plan. So I'm open to whatever is the best direction to go. So moving on, marketing and website vendors, we've kind of rolled that into one. We're having a new website completely remade from scratch. And then the guy who's making the website is also going to offer his services. We're getting rid of in-house services. We're no longer going to offer social media management or customer reputation management. It's all going to just be through this guy. That is at the behest of Michael and Michael Abdi, and that's going to be very hopefully shortly done. Any questions on marketing and website? It's going to be $99 a month for the individual website, and then there's also different tiers of help that he'll provide in addition to. And I think that's supposed to be part of the technology fee as well.
Part of the $200?
No,
I believe
no, it's
No?
not. It's actually part of the local marketing spend.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So every franchisee must pay the $99 a month, which covers the website, the individual website, and that website will have software that's attached to it for texting and text marketing and all kinds of things, all kinds of bells and whistles. It's a dramatic improvement to what we've had so far, but that's required. And then, of course, if they elect the premium package, which I think is $299 per month, that will provide a more one-on-one customer service, as well as more services with regard to marketing, digital marketing specifically, for that additional $200. That is optional. Any questions about that?
And Justin, is this part of their, taken into account as part of their local ad spend?
Correct. The local marketing spend is a requirement that each franchisee has that they have to spend at least 2.5% of their gross revenues every month on local marketing. That will include the $99 a month for the website, as well as other digital marketing that they do, and events. All of those things can count towards that 2.5% requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Oil vendor, what I can tell you is that we've decided to change to a new company Instead of Petro Choice, it's now Relodyne. And I'll let Costa kind of speak to that relationship.
Justin, real quick question. Do we name Relodyne by name in the FDD?
I know we put it in the operations manual. Let me just check really quickly.
Yeah, I think from the standpoint of marketing to franchisees, just because these things can change, I think it's just important to say that we'll always have a relationship with the national vendor that gives us the most competitive pricing in our space, and that we believe in the no brand, the unbranded model, and that approach allows us to have better margin. But we did.
don't. By the way, Costa, we don't
Okay.
refer to them. By name.
So, we have moved away from Petro Choice, and we will be using Relodyne in almost every single market, and we will share some of their marketing materials that you guys can use as well.
Costa, would you mind just sharing the reasons why and what's different about Relodyne?
There's not much that's different. Petro Choice kind of dropped the ball with our franchisees and made us lose faith when and obviously, Michael, you're on every single Discovery Day, so you've heard Brian Gorman tell us time and time again that the sub-distributors would match the same pricing as corporate, and we've told many people that. And then when the rubber hit the road, Petro Choice kind of backed down from that in order to make their margin, and they refused to match pricing. And so some franchisees had different pricing than the corporate stores, and that made us look bad. And that in itself was enough to make me switch.
And can Relodyne do that, Costa?
Yeah, so Relodyne's given us a fairly high rebate, but we're going to have uniform pricing across the system, and they have many more corporate-owned warehouses than Petro Choice, so they're not as reliant on sub-distributors. Petro Choice's corporate warehouses are very East Coast heavy, whereas Relodyne seems to have strategically bought distributors in different parts of the country to be able to have more control at the corporate level. So I'll send you the map. They have a similar map to Petro Choice that shows where the distributors are and all that stuff. But we've only been with them for maybe a month now, and it seems to be going all right. Franchisees seem happy.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, if you want, I can give you a specific, I guess what happened. So for me, we were about to do the grand opening in West Virginia. We placed our oil order 2 weeks before the grand opening with Petro Choice. He called me 4 days before our grand opening, said that the oil wouldn't be there on time.
Oh boy.
So we had to scramble, and we found a supplier that was local there that was able to help us out, but that was kind of like the last straw for me.
And just to be clear, we don't require that franchisees use any particular oil vendor. Relodyne is our approved bulk oil vendor, and I believe that they would have to request approval for an alternative. But I just want to be clear for the FranDevCo folks that we're not requiring franchisees to utilize one particular oil vendor. Parts vendor, Costa or Brandon, do you guys want to say anything about this?
No real changes there. We still use Service Champ. Service Champ probably will continue to present at our Discovery Day. We are making a move away from AutoZone to Napa, but that hasn't even taken place yet, so it's not really worth even going into until it's solidified. But parts remain, oil filters and ancillary products remain Service Champ heavy.
Okay. I guess Costa, I like Ruben a lot, and I would probably need to give you specific examples, but he has great energy. But there are a couple times on our Discovery Days where some of the stuff he says I think is a little off track and inappropriate. So anyway, I just mentioned that I've never.
I remember one example you gave me, like during Brandon, do you remember? There's one that sticks out. There hasn't been anything that was egregious to the point where it made me double take, but I remember there was one time where he said something and you texted me right away.
Sorry, I was reading a text for a different issue. Who are we talking about?
Ruben making an inappropriate comment during Discovery Day. I can't remember what the specific one was,
I don't
but
remember.
I do remember there was one time where there was something or another.
Yeah, he just goes off track a little bit. I mean, he's a great young guy and he's got a great nature. So I don't, maybe a little bit of coaching or just say, hey, stick on the topic. Yeah.
I think more
Yeah.
so is Peter.
Peter?
Peter
Yeah.
goes, yeah,
Peter
we're
goes on
gonna,
tangents.
Emily's hopping at in 4 minutes. We can go straight into the slide deck, but let's use the last 4 minutes to talk about the real estate process update. Brandon, I'll hand that off to you to talk about that. We are really keeping things the same at the moment. We have some stuff going on in the background, but Brandon, go ahead.
I don't know of any updates. I'm sorry. David, do you have?
I'm sorry, Brandon, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off if you were, I can help with the updates if you need help.
Yeah, if you'd like to, I'm sorry, I might be out of the loop. I don't know of any real estate updates as of yet that we pulled the trigger on.
Well, I think that's correct. So essentially, the partners that we have when it comes to real estate are going to remain our partners for now. I know that David and the rest of us are undertaking an analysis of those relationships currently. But nothing has changed. There's one change that I'll point out, but in terms of the people that we work with, that will not change. So one thing is that our relationship with Peter Colvin as the construction company and with respect to the financing of the construction, those are two separate things that under two separate entities that he's been sort of fulfilling for us. He plans to continue both. However, we are working on a potential new solution for the financing part of it. That's not part of this FDD. And again, nothing's changed to this point. Just a heads up that that could be something that's coming down the pike. With respect to construction, one of the most important changes is that he has partnered with a third party called Siteology that is going to be providing or taking over project management with respect to each construction project that goes into that, each franchisee that goes into that real estate program. So a lot of the communication troubles that Peter and his team have had in terms of being responsive to franchisees, giving them status updates as to where things are in the process, will be somewhat alleviated by the introduction of Siteology as a partner with respect to project management, as well as identifying and hiring subs to provide local contracting services on site for each project. So those were some of the pain points that we've had with that program. We've talked to Peter and we've identified a potential solution to that. So that's that. I can tell you that this new FDD has both an updated engagement letter for the Easy Leasebacks program, as well as a building or kiosk lease that will be used moving forward. There were some modifications to the rent that franchisees would be expected to pay. Previously, it was 10% of the total project cost. Now it's going to vary based on the federal funds rate. So right now we're looking at about roughly 11%. And all of that's reflected in the addendum to the FDD. On the site selection side, Morrow Hill, that relationship will continue. And we continue to work to try to enhance that. And I would add finally that, we're going to be providing increased attention internally with respect to managing both the real estate, the site selection and construction processes as well. And I know that's something that David is paying a lot of attention to as he comes up to speed on the system and proposes new ideas. So I'll just pause there and see if anyone has any questions on real estate.
Justin, I think from my standpoint, what would be helpful is perhaps to do a separate call. I know we're limited on time. And Costa, maybe we can make this recording available to Emily afterwards. But in terms of the real estate piece, it's pretty complicated. Well, it's extensive. Maybe a separate call with you and with Brandon or whoever else, and then with Peter. I also have some questions on the conversions, if we're going to be putting more resources around that and who's going to be involved in the conversion process, because that'll be part of our marketing to candidates.
Yeah, so really quick, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Justin. The update from the Peter Colvin deal, in my mind, I have those split up into construction and real estate being tailored. So I did know about the siteology thing, that in my mind, that was a construction update. But Michael and David, if you guys want to jump on a call, we could talk about conversions. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to be heading up the conversion process and making sure that those get done. And I feel like me and Costa are really the experts in the conversion model, as far as how to build out a store, what it takes and what we have to do to get that done. So I'll still be heading out the conversions.
Okay, it'll be important because I think as we move forward, if we do a multi-unit deal, one area Brandon and I can talk through is, it's not just the kiosk anymore, but versus Strickland or Take 5 and the Grease Monkeys and so on is, we've got a lower cost of real estate, but we also have more options. Looking out for conversions, you could do those short term, and then you can wait, potentially to do the kiosk later on.
All right, so on that note, why don't we go through the slide deck and we can talk about what should be removed, what should be added. I think we did a good job with FranDevCo last year of modifying the slide deck to be tailored. And then this year we can do the same. And I think we're going to try to shorten it. So let's keep this. I remember me and Michael back in late 2020, probably November, me and Michael looked at the slide deck and we're like 120 slides, and Sung's like, it's beautiful. And me and Michael are like, man, we need to cut this thing down to like 60. And so let's roll through this. And I think everyone agrees that our format works. So we're going to stay with the same framework. No reason to reinvent the wheel. We're going to continue to start with myself, our story. I talk about the store. We go straight into our vision. I do our little thought exercise asking about, when you think of fast food, who do you think of? McDonald's, Chick-fil-A. We have that conversation about how any industry can be disrupted. We go into our core values. Nothing has changed here. Our core values remain the same. And then we talk about how this day is a mutual butt sniffing. Obviously not going to use that term, but it's a mutual feeling out of long-term relationship, 15 years. We go straight into, we have a multifaceted approach to getting you open. This kind of goes into what you just said, Michael, how it's important for us to say we have multiple ways to get you open faster than our competition and for less money than our competition. We talk about car wash conversion. Then we go on to, so I think we could probably get rid of the oil change platform part of the slide. So let's go ahead and delete. All right, so then we go from car wash conversion to new kiosk construction. We talk about the two different options: land purchase, site improvement, land lease plus site improvement. It's important to note that when we use the term site improvement, we're talking about building a building. So I think that's important to mention. Site purchase, I think we should delete this slide. But we can talk about site purchase opportunities, surplus real estate, odd shape, size lots. We don't want to get into competition over half-acre lots. We do need to, per Michael's request, get rid of anything that references any timeline.
Hey, Costa, can I just interject? I've got a question. With regard to the platform that we took out, is that relevant to the conversion of a car wash? Or are we gonna, if that is still a viable option for franchisees, won't they think of the question naturally of, well, what about the pit? And doesn't the platforms kind of solve that? Or are we no longer?
No, we're going to use our pit mold for car wash conversions, and Peter Colvin's gonna have the pits installed. Or if we're not going to use Peter Colvin, you do the Ralph approach where you find a local, I guess he used a excavating company to dig out pits. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should point that out and bring that up during Discovery Day. Once we firm up a plan, if Peter is going to do it, that would be great. I also think we should consider having an introduction of the candidates at the very beginning. I know that we had talked about having a dinner or bringing back the social event. If we did that, then maybe it's not as necessary, but since we hadn't been doing that for a while, I found that it's harder for us to hear from the candidates during Discovery Day, and we'd like to hear more from them. So going around the room to have them introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about what you're doing. Whenever I've gone to Discovery Days, it's usually started out with something like that. So what do we think about maybe bringing that back?
I think we can just integrate it into the
exercise,
the core values thought exercise.
Okay.
Well, or we could do we could do introductions during the fast food thought exercise. Brandon, I'm going to give you control of screen. I got to step away for a second.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, Brandon, do you have control of my screen?
No.
Okay, hold on.
While we're doing that, I'll just note that, the time to open, the estimated time to open in our new FDD has changed from 12 to 36 months, just to set expectations that it has and can take that long. Certainly that's not the intention, but to be fully transparent, we've made that revision.
Oh, wrong, Brandon.
Do you have
Justin,
somebody come over there?
Justin, does that relate to the mainly to the new
Brandon?
build?
Say that again, Michael. I couldn't.
Does that relate mainly to the new build, the leasing kiosk
Yeah,
program?
oh yeah, absolutely. And, to be honest with you, it shouldn't take any franchisee that long, but it's really for our brand's protection. We need to be completely transparent. We've still got a couple of people in our system where, by the time they're open, it could be 3 years or close to it. So, but yeah, conversions should be much faster. And I really believe that the addition of Siteology should help us with regard to the timeline for new kiosk builds in a couple different respects. One, having a project manager will hopefully speed up the time to get a building permit. Because franchisees are currently sort of hiring their, finding their own local subs and going through the process on their own. So having Siteology to help manage that with, additional attention from the franchisor, I think will help. And then also increase capacity so that the construction program company owned by Peter Colvin and Brian Winkleman and can work on multiple projects at once a little bit better than they have in the past. And so I'm hoping that the whole process moves a lot faster moving forward, but we've still got a bit of a pipeline, as you know, to kind of a backlog to kind of get open. And then, hopefully the program will be optimized by some of the other changes that we're discussing internally right now.
I will say that I do believe that Siteology will help with the multiple units at one time. I will say that from my experience, municipalities have their own cadence.
Yep.
And if you're in Cobb County, Georgia, it's going to take a lot longer than if you're in, I don't know, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, it might be faster. So that we have no control over municipalities. I want that to be completely clear. When we're going in and submitting a site plan, when we're submitting permitting, we have no control, and Siteology won't either. Maybe they'll have more scale behind them because they're a larger firm. But other than that, I don't think that that's going to be much of a change. Now, can we get multiple units going at one time? I do believe so. But though that's just from what I've seen, from what I've dealt with special use permitting hearings, and all that I've been a part of, they have their own cadence. So, keeping this one bay in here, I think that it's a good idea to keep it in here. However, my suggestion would be to try to see if we can get a 2-bay rendering in here as well, because the 2-bay has been, just from a financial standpoint, the 2-bay is the way that we're going to be going. If they have enough land, if they have enough space, Peter is going to push them to get a 2-bay because the price of each project is about the same. I think if you do a 1-bay, you're saving like $20,000. And it almost doesn't make sense to do a 1-bay unless they can only get like 0.12 acres and we can only fit a 1-bay on it. Then, okay, that's fine. I think that we should get a rendering of a 2-bay just like this that we can present as well.
Brandon, who can do that for us? Can we
I'll
get
talk
a
to Costa and see. I mean, it might not be a top-down view like this, but we have 2-bay renderings. We could put a 2-bay kiosk that we have, right? I mean, we have the picture behind me of the 2-bay that we built, and we can put that in there and say, hey, this is a built operating 2-bay. Boom. It's not even a rendering, it's a real building.
Yeah.
I think that's going to have a lot more gravitas to it than a rendering.
I agree.
Conversion.
Not to get us sidetracked here, but have you guys looked into like a Matterport type of tour of one of the kiosks? I've seen those used in some different freestanding kind of site tours, and it's a pretty cool feature. I'm not sure about cost or anything there, but
so I've thought about doing that. You're talking about like a VR tour, right? Where you can like click through and walk through it and everything. So we're building a 2-bay in Warren, Ohio. I think that that's going to be probably the store that if we're going to do it, we're going to do it in that one. The 2-bay that's built right now is in West Virginia. It's operating every day, so there wouldn't be a good day for us to go in. But since we will be in control of the Warren store, we have the latitude to be able to do that. So I think it's a good idea. We just have to wait until Warren gets built, which it's in the process right now. So,
gotcha. Just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. We have people. So I just got a drone, and I'm going to start doing a bunch of drone footage and stuff of grand openings and all that you guys will have access to as well. Just to be cool. I kind of want to fly it through the building and do all that cool stuff. So I got some ideas that I'm working on as well. So. Quick loop conversion. I think this is probably one of our best looking conversion buildings. I think we keep it in, obviously. So real estate construction funding, I think. Obviously keeping Peter in here, what is everybody's thoughts? I mean, obviously, Peter's our builder right now. And the only changes are gonna be with Siteology. So I think, obviously, we keep this in here, but I think, do we tie in Siteology as well?
Yeah,
Well, Synology is going to be a vendor of the leasebacks program. And so they'll be sort of tied in there instead of directly to the franchisor. So I do think that we can maybe talk to Peter about him explaining Synology's value during his section.
Are we gonna have Siteology present or no?
I think Bob's open to it, and the last I spoke with him, so that hasn't been determined yet. But
Well-
if we want him to, we can certainly talk to him and he and Peter about it.
Well, we don't really have so the WCMA, the builder, Brian, he's not in here at all, either. So do you think that we could do something as far as like co-branding all three together?
Well, I mean, you bring up an interesting point. Technically, they're three separate entities. However, I think that they should all be addressed in one section.
Mhm.
Peter Colvin is the owner of Easy Lease, he's the owner, the Easy Leasebacks is a service mark. He's the owner of that, but he's the owner of Colvin Team Real Estate LLC, which is the entity that finances the construction of these buildings through a pool of investors. But he's also a partner in the construction company with Brian Winkleman, using the acronym, Brandon, you got it right, WAC. I always get the letters wrong.
WACM.
WACM. I have no idea what that stands for, but that's
I
a
don't know.
separate that actually does the construction. But they're both controlled by Peter Colvin essentially. So even though Brian Winkleman is the expert when it comes to construction, and he handles that part of it directly with franchisees. So Synology is a third-party construction company that does a lot of different, every facet of construction. They are partnering with and working under WACM for purposes of providing project management services to our franchisees through WACM. So it's essentially a contractual relationship between WACM and Synology to provide that, and that's how it'll be structured. So I'm open to having, and I think it would be great to have Synology present. I don't know that we need Brian Winkleman to present, but certainly it should all be part of this sort of real estate program.
So my initial thought would be to add Synology, maybe co-brand a slide together. But I feel like it's going to be important to explain, and this might be after the discovery day, once they get into the nuts and bolts of everything, but I think it's important to explain who is going to be taking care of what. So like explaining that Synology takes care of the site development work, where WACM takes care of the building, and then Easy Leasebacks or Colvin Team Realty takes care of the funding. Because I think this can get very convoluted and very confusing very quickly if we don't talk about it.
I think you're right. We should talk about it, but I think it's equally important to understand from a contractual standpoint that franchisees will contract with one entity, and that is WACM and Colvin Team. They're Colvin Team with respect to the building lease, WACM with respect to engagement. So they're not engaging directly with Synology. So
Gotcha.
if there
Okay.
are problems in this project they should not be looking to Siteology or to the franchisor with regard to problems that may arise. So that's an important distinction. So that's the way it's being set up.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm still transitioning my brain into the other portion.
Justin, is Withco mentioned in our FDD at all?
No,
There is a possibility that we do transition to a new. We should delete this slide completely.
Mhm.
There is a potential that we transition to a new finance company altogether. We're doing a site in Warren, Ohio, with a company called Withco, where they're financing the entire project. And if it goes well, we might be replacing Peter Colvin's Easy Leasebacks completely.
How do I spell that, Costa? Is it?
WITH.co is their
Okay.
website.
now just to be clear on that, Withco would only be replacing the financing
Easy
construction.
Leaseback.
Financing part, not the construction part. So Peter Colvin may still be involved through WACM with regard to providing the building package. He still Peter Colvin may not be going, he wouldn't be replaced entirely by Withco. It may be that the lease, the building lease is done with Withco because Withco is funding the construction of the building, but the actual building would still be built by Peter Colvin and his entity, potentially.
We are staying with Morrow Hill for the time being, so their slides will remain the same. Taylor will probably continue to do his portion, so we can kind of just skip through that. True Brand will probably continue to have them present.
Hey, Michael, I do have a question about how the number of presenters and the actual presenters that we have is received by candidates. As you've talked to candidates, have they expressed any thoughts around the length, the number of presenters, the type of presenters, or there's some that they found to be, I'm just curious if there's any feedback there.
Nothing proactive, but I think, Justin, you bring up a good point. Overall, the goal here would be to ensure that the candidate feels like the team here at Discovery Day, the ops team, is going to be able to work with them to provide them all of these resources. I think from a personal note, I would just say I haven't talked much about True Brands. We could potentially leave out True Brands. I just want to compliment you guys, because I think with a lot of vendors that you work with, it's conducting an orchestra on Discovery Day, trying to get these folks on the call at the right time. And if it helps you, maybe we could extend some of the sections and perhaps have one or two less presenters.
All right,
Thanks.
well, that's the point of this
Yeah,
call.
yeah, that's why I wanted to ask. I appreciate that feedback. And Costa, I don't know if what you think about eliminating True Brands or any of the others.
I feel like True Brand helps from an optics standpoint show the sophistication of our system. So, we're not going to have Jeff Pruzak really present anymore. This is something that I run through relatively quickly each time. What are you doing, Brandon?
I was trying to give you back control and I accidentally clicked out of everything.
Okay. So I think Service Champs slide's important. So this will remain the same. I don't think anyone from Relodyne is going to present, so it'll be me
Okay.
doing their slides. If Dave Falzarano does get us a national sign vendor, we could add a slide, but we don't need to do more than a couple seconds on it. That'll be added benefit. But it would just be a couple seconds. By the way, we have a national sign vendor, so you don't have to worry about it. Marketing, obviously, this has been a internal portion of the slide deck. I don't want to have Ryan present, so we'll probably just talk about our internal help because Ryan is optional. The guy making our website, his name's Ryan, just FYI. So we still have our internal marketing handbook. We still have our internal guides. We still have our customer retention satisfaction policy. We still have geo strategies. We probably can delete these.
Are you going to include something on your new system, Costa, in this area?
Oh, as soon as it's actually built, David definitely doesn't need to present anymore. So we can delete all of David's portion. But what we can do is just mention, bookkeeping is an important part of any business, and we do have someone with bookkeeping experience. Franchise support, we're still utilizing Oil U, so all of this is still correct. We've been meaning to update this slide for literally 2 years and we haven't updated it, but let's see, keep it going. This is probably out of date, Justin,
Yeah.
so let's go ahead and not delete it, but have it marked for update. This slide's fine, this slide's fine, slide's fine. The slide's fine, maybe a better
Can you change
graphic.
that to bi-weekly?
Bi-weekly.
Yeah,
Are you
we
no
have-
longer?
I would just change it to recurring. Not to lock us into weekly, but to just say recurring support calls, something to that
like
nature.
that. I like that, David.
Yeah, and I think it's the one thing that I would suggest. I mean, there's a lot of slides here that are all very impressive and you guys do a wonderful job in my first time through it, a couple months ago now. So I have nothing really to add other than we could put more of what we provide and what I think I'm going to interject in terms of educating them on what it means to be a franchisor. Some of the stuff that I pretty much everything I put into that intro call that I put that agenda together for, an icebreaker, something as to who we are and why we're doing what we're doing and finding out why they're here and why they're doing what they're doing, right? And that's the start with why concept, which I used to have in my old Discovery Day as well. And then really just giving them an understanding of the process and the support. It's okay to tell them that it might take up to 3 years, but show them why and what we do to make sure that it doesn't, right? And that's kind of saying, we're going to be here to support you up, down, or indifferent, but here's the reality of the situation and the gravity of some of the decisions you'll make versus what we'll do. And I think there's a flow chart that Brandon's already started to touch on that could easily be a slide that we could use as something that I could talk through and just giving them a expectation of what to expect once you do get to the other side of this in terms of the process and support.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right,
couple-
so we just went through everything that should be deleted. I kind of want to hand things off to Michael and FranDevCo. Do you think that after everything we just went through, there should be stuff that's added?
I'm gonna have to think through that, Costa, but thank you. One item that I thought about as we went through the lunch, are we still gonna plan to take and this may give us an opportunity, if you join us, Justin, David, an opportunity and Brandon, for you guys to get to know the candidates, is walk over to the your shop in Hanover and just do a quick tour of that.
Yeah, if we go back to leaning heavily on in-person franchisee discovery days, then we will walk over to the shop.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking of opportunities, and maybe I'm playing on this too much right now, because Brandon and I will do it through the selection process as we take him through, but just for you guys to get to know who these people are in the event you award them.
Yep.
Yeah.
To that end, I recommended that we have a little bit more of a robust meeting with FranDevCo and our team internally after on awarding franchise candidates. And maybe we don't need to cover that on this call, but I think the way that we've been doing it so far could use some revisions. I personally would like to get the FranDevCo people involved in that conversation, but that's the thought.
Could I offer this? I've picked up something beginning of the event, Justin, you brought up about getting to know the candidates. Another brand that I worked with a couple of years ago asked a question of the candidates, tell us something that people don't know about you, which is a great icebreaker. And so I think working more into that at the beginning of the day would be good. And then also if it's okay, I'll send you some ideas on the post discovery day and maybe meeting up, via Zoom the following day just to talk through all the candidates and make sure we pick the right ones. Okay.
A couple of questions about slides, Costa. One is, you kept the mystery shopper slide. We haven't really addressed that as a system to this point. Do we want to keep that? Do we still plan? Are we committed to that program?
Yeah, I think we should. Obviously it's Michael Abdi's call, since that would be something we'd have to finance on our end, but I think eventually, it is important to do a mystery shopper program. I guess whoever made this image actually made lunch part of the image, so I got to figure out a way to, let me see if I can do this instead.
Rebecca could change it for you. I think she's got the.
No, I don't think she has. I don't think she has this version.
Okay.
It's not a huge deal. I can do it right now.
Costa, what about I don't know if I missed it, but
There, done.
a slide of the leadership at Costa who they're going to work with. I like that. We may need to update it with David.
Yep.
Okay. Here we go. And then we can put the FranDevCo slide at the end. And then I don't know if we want to get into this at this point, but maybe David, you could talk through, what happens when we get you on board. Welcome call, real estate, could be something we could consider as a last slide.
Maybe.
Sorry. Costa, I think this should include everybody on the team that's going to support a franchisee and maybe just our function or role. And that would give us just the ability to allow everyone in the room that's sitting in the back of the room to talk as well and introduce themselves.
I was thinking about doing two separate slides, leadership team, franchise team, have something with Abdi and, we can even include JP as the controller of the company, kind of gives a bigger breadth to the team.
Yep. Structures. Yep.
So
yeah, maybe even just put a copy of the org chart. Wouldn't be a bad way to show it.
Let's go.
yeah.
Busy. Oh, Costa, are we gonna still have the manager join us for that session?
I'm not gonna make Daryl drive out. I'm unless he really wants to. But we could probably still have Brian come in.
Great. Yeah. Okay. No, I like that. I think it's a really added value to the discovery day.
Actually, JP should probably just be on franchise team. Obviously, this is not what it's gonna be. This is just notes for later.
Yep.
Just while I have everyone, are we working with, iPromo, or have there been any changes?
No, iPromo's out. Already talked to Michael about this. This is not a high priority item, but we will get a new merchandise. I asked him if he had anyone in mind, and it's just not a priority at the moment. So I do have Cody working with a family friend of mine who has just gotten out of the Navy as a 14-year Navy vet, as almost a admiral of a literal warship, and he is doing. He works for his uncle's print shop that does everything that iPromo does, and I mean, I could let Cody speak to it, but I think he's going to get replaced by someone that Michael has anyway, so I'm not really worried about it at the moment.
So then I think on that approved vendor slide that we should mark that for modification too.
Yeah, well, that one's got to be modified anyway, because
We gotta take Halsey out of it.
we got to take a lot of stuff out. Yeah, I mean, this whole thing is not really relevant anymore.
Yeah.
I think the point of that slide is just to state that we have these solutions more than specifying what those solutions are, and so we can revise the image and then have it be more accurate. They can't probably read it anyway.
Yeah. Well, we definitely have people that take pictures during Discovery Day of this slide. I've seen it many times.
And we definitely have franchisees that says, I know I saw this on there.
Anything else that we should chat about? We went through everything.
I just have one.
I'm gonna leave Daryl and Mark up because it's always a nice side conversation, and they still take phone calls on behalf of us for selling purposes, but most likely Brian is going to be the one doing the in-person employee validation type Q&A.
Okay. Costi, is Daryl a franchisee yet?
No, so that I have to work out with Abdi. Me
Okay.
and him have to work that out somehow, because Daryl doesn't have the finances for the franchise fees. So
Okay.
we'll cross that bridge, but it is definitely going to come to head soon.
Okay. I'd just leave you with one thought to help Brandon Wilson and I is, just keep in mind if we could try and organize a group validation call once a week, ideally, or once every 2 weeks, and think about who could help us, with that. Potentially, share some numbers, even though they're new. A lot of the franchisees, that's on the top of their list. Hey, how long, did it take you to break even? Are you breaking even? Franchise or support, stuff like that. That would be really helpful for us in our sales process.
Yeah. And like I mentioned on the previous call, let's get out some of these early wins to our franchisees that like rejuvenate them. We've leaned very, very heavily on Ryan and Mitch, and I don't want to wear them out. And also, obviously, everyone in the franchise world is looking to see what happens with that martial arts place, with the people that were making franchisees validate that really shouldn't have been validating. And we don't have anyone that's actively talking about how they're profitable. And so just let's keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, I did. I heard from Mitch, usually what I'll do is I'll send him a text and just say, hey, Mitch, I've got this gentleman or this lady looking at it. They're interested in talking with you. Would you be willing to chat with them? And then we set it up that way. I think there have been candidates that have come through the process that have just called, and I try and control it as much as I can, but and that doesn't work as well for them. So.
Costa had to step away. Sorry, I'm having an issue with my face right now. It's killing me. I guess anything else that anybody wants to talk about? Anything else, any other changes? I'm taking notes as we go, so I have it as well. So even though Costa's not here, we can talk about it.
Are we still good with the first Discovery Day being June the 21st, 22nd?
Yeah, we pushed it back, right? Because that
Yeah.
first one was, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
We are still having corporate training the 12th, 13th, and 14th, however.
Okay.
Because we already have confirmations for that. So that's not a factor. But yeah, June 21st and 22nd. Let's talk real quick, Michael, about the getting into the airport, travel, getting people to the hotel, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if we should rent some vehicles. You know, if two of us come in,
Mhm.
I think what worked well was when Chris or Chuck came in and they were early, they would take the early arrivers out to the hotel. I don't know if you guys could still, I mean, I guess Abdi pays for it, but Michael, would be the bus that you had, Brandon. I don't know if it's possible to still have Aaron or Cody come in and do a trip if we need it.
Yeah, let me talk with Costa and Abdi and David about it to see what their thoughts are, and if we can get with JP and get a reoccurring van like we did. Now, we're not doing a dinner, right?
No, we are going to do a dinner.
Okay, so you'll need transportation for that as well then.
Yeah.
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 So I know that I won't be available for every Discovery Day
Mm.
because my travel day is Wednesday for grand openings. I do a training day and then a Friday is a grand opening. So there's definitely, as we ramp up, I won't be available. So I'll have to get with them to see if that's something viable for either Aaron or Cody to do, like before. But we'll before June we'll have it something ironed
Okay.
out.
Yeah, I think, you know, just a provisional discussion Brandon Wilson and I have had is he would come in for the one Discovery Day and I would come in for the next one. So we would, you know, do those alternately. And I mean, if two of us came in, then that'd be a little easier. We could rent a SUV or the appropriate vehicle and just drive out. Other than that, we may, you know, I think if I remember, it's hard to get everyone there, you know, at the same time because some people come from the East Coast. I fly out from Reno, so I tend to come in a little later, but maybe just
Yeah.
having two options, you know.
So why don't we do what we did in Cleveland where we just gave everybody Uber codes and they Ubered in?
We could do that, yeah. Maybe two people drive together. I mean, it's not cheap, but
Yeah, but it saves us a lot of time on
Yeah.
our end having to leave. Because when I picked up, we asked everybody to get in, around 4 o'clock. I would leave the office at 1 and then I wouldn't be back in Hanover until 5.
Yeah, no,
Right, so that's a huge block. It's 4 or 5 hours of time where, if we have other things going on, it's just be easier for us just to dish out the 50 to 60 bucks to Uber from the airport here, or to the hotel, and then maybe that's when we schedule a car service or something to take us to dinner, take us back, and then everybody come over to the Discovery Day. Now, I
Yeah.
do think getting back to the airport would be the issue because we don't have, like Hanover is a small town, we don't have Uber drivers like that, like we do in Baltimore, right?
yeah,
So let's come up with something together and what makes the best sense, I
Okay.
think it worked really well with the Uber codes getting here. And then maybe we get a van and then we meet everybody at the hotel again. We take everybody to dinner like we did, take them back to the hotel, pick them up in the morning, bring them to Discovery Day. And then Discovery Day back to the airport maybe, but it really.
yeah.
Brandon,
Yeah.
I would suggest maybe we look at a local transportation company and see if we can maybe get like a local taxi service or something that can participate here rather than Uber. It'd be a little cheaper probably.
We don't have anything here,
Nothing.
no.
Hmm.
We would have to pay for them to drive here from Baltimore.
Okay.
So,
But Brandon, I think that's a good idea. You know, it saves you guys. I mean, it is a ton of time you spend on the road. We do the Uber the one way. And some of us could probably double up And then you just get the bus, for our travel around Hanover, and then that may make sense if you can do the drive back on the second day. But that I guess would be a good compromise on time savings for you, and then also the cost of getting folks to to Hanover.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest point is, we don't have any really car services here in Hanover to do that for us. So let's do something next week. Let's jump on a call and see if we can hammer out something.
Okay.
And David as well on that call. So all of
Okay.
us,
I'll
we can
send out
figure
a
something
I'll
out,
send out
but
an
we're
invitation.
gonna, we have to get if we could just have JP take care of that side of things. And then maybe Abdi has something that he uses on the regular that would be available for us as well. So
I just walked back into this. Are we talking about renting the vans again?
yeah, we're talking about travel. So my original thought is Uber codes from Baltimore to here.
Oof, no, I don't think so.
Well, we don't have a lot of options, unfortunately.
I think that it's either gonna be a transportation service, that's like a private transportation service, or we rent the van. I think those are the only options. Or we leave it up to them to get out here on their own. So I'm interested to hear David's thoughts on it. Just David, to give you background, when Discovery Day was near the airport, it was 15 minutes away. We were able to give Uber codes, and that was easy because it was in Cleveland proper. And then when we moved it, we were able to connect with a limousine company that had like party buses, and they would literally, everyone would have to arrive at the airport at a certain time, and then the bus would drive everyone to the airport.
Yeah, I think we're overthinking
to-
this. I think at some level, we're overthinking this, right? People aren't coming just for an hour. They're coming for a couple days, actually. They're gonna arrive, they're gonna then travel to a hotel in Gettysburg area. They're gonna get there. They're gonna have to have some expenses to move, and they've got to get there, whether that means they rent the car or they travel. I've never reimbursed people to get to my office for meetings, and we've held people there for weeks, a whole week at a time, 3 weeks straight for trainings. They got to pay for their travel, their airfare, their car, their hotels. It's nice if you can pull it off and give people incentives, but again, outside.
So do we even broach this? So it's your opinion, we don't even broach this with Abdi, and we just leave transportation up to the participants?
Until we say it's a super deterrent that they're not coming because of it, but I don't see it being that. If people are coming in
I
for a
think
couple
Michael would
days,
say that.
I know that's why you've gotten to what you've gotten to, even when it was close, you were doing it. But again, we can solve for ways to make sales easier, or we can solve for logistics that make sense. I don't know any systems that are paying to travel people from an airport to their Discovery Day. It's the cost of doing business. You want to get into business with us, it's going to cost you $55,000 plus all the time and effort, hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can't pay for an Uber. The fuck are we doing here? That's how I look at it. I know that maybe I'm, coming from a system that has, $1 million net worth franchisees, and maybe those things weren't as scrutinized, but that's my take. If they can't come out to Hanover and figure it out, then we're probably talking to the wrong people. So,
Well,
I just want
to
to give everyone a fair shake to give their opinion, and then we'll make a decision.
yep.
I think it's a two-way street. You've got individuals that are taking vacation or, making the effort to get on a plane. I don't know what the airfares are going to be doing, but my airfare last year, just post-COVID, was $1,500. And that's why we try to do it another way. And I think with the distance from Hanover to the airport, it's not a $20-$30 Uber ride. It's it's another big,
115, yeah.
yeah, it's like $125, there and back. It's $250. I think to host someone at a hotel is a nice gesture, and maybe offer them a dinner. So I think, frankly, Costa, you footed a ton of bills initially with funding the airfare, doing everything pretty much, and I don't think that's fair. But and I'm, Brandon Wilson, I think you've worked with some other brands. Maybe you can give us your 2 cents here as well. Oh, I think he froze. But there's a way around it. I think the piece about maybe they pay for their way out there and then we offer, to take them back. The great thing about going back as a group is, you do get a chance to debrief and talk with them. I remember in December when we took that bus ride back, we had, I think, 6 candidates there. I had 3 candidates in the bus with me, and man, they started working each other. And by the time we got to the airport, I hadn't said a word, and they were asking each other how many units they wanted to do. And pretty much everyone on the way back was committed to moving forward. It was pretty nice. So.
Okay,
I got 4 o'clock. I gotta jump, so I gotta get ready for it.
good. See you, Brennan.